Thank you for joining the Mortgage Note podcast. I'm Scott Kimbler. We're speaking with Elizabeth Washburn. She is founder of New Threshold Mortgage. What is New Threshold Mortgage and how did the venture come about?
New Threshold Mortgage is a mortgage broker firm, and that means that basically I secure loans from the retail market, and then I place them with different lenders that I am signed up with. And I started this company in 2002 because I've been doing it for about 10 years, and we had decided to start a family. And I thought, what better way to be able to work at home and still contribute to the household and actually be there for my children. I decided to launch it. My child was, I guess, about 10 months old at the time, my first child, and decided to launch it. And by the end of that year, in December of 2002, I had it formed, and I was fully licensed with Department of Banking and Finance for Georgia by about May of that year. And about 4 days later, I closed my first loan. So I said, you can keep going until you get to closing. And then we had to wait until it was fully licensed, but it really didn't delay the closing. So that was good. So from there, I just kept going. When I first started, I had a processor, and she would handle a lot of the business. And then as time went on, I took on the processing of it because it was easy to know what the client needed and what was missing. And now that there's so many laws that have gone into effect with mortgage brokering, and there's licensing, so much of it has been taken over by the lenders themselves to make sure you're within compliance, that a lot of the processing is just on the upfront and then making sure you're meeting conditions. So for me, it was really easy to just find the right product with the various number of lenders I have and be able to help the clients that way.
So what is your background in the business dating back to the 90s that led you to want to do this in the early 2000s?
Well, I like to tell the story that when I first got finished with college back in 1992, I was searching for a job, and I went back to Agnes Scott College. I was over in Decatur, and they had a fifth-year free program, so I could go back and just take classes because the economy was pretty bad at the time, and a lot of people couldn't find a great job. So I decided to do that, and I got a second major in economics. And my household that I was living in, it was with my parents, and my sister was there too, and we had her cats, and somehow the Christmas tree got knocked over, and the kitty cats got blamed. So it was decided after Christmas that she was going to buy a home. So we were looking at different homes, and I decided to go with them to look at the place, and ran into the agent. And she said, well, maybe you should meet the loan officer. So I met with the loan officer, and I was really intrigued with the market and how it all was affected by what was going on in, not only the housing market, but the stock market and everything. I mean, you can link it to everything. And so I said, I'll try it. Why not? And so I was able to stay with my parents and live off of basically minimal income. And so I started doing it, and it was really working out well. And so I just kept at it. And here I am today. I guess I was calculating that almost 30 years in the industry. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. And there's been some challenges in helping clients achieve their goals of home ownership.
How does an independent lender differ from a larger corporate vendor, and why would that be a better option for someone who is buying a home?
Oh my gosh, we are so different from corporate as brokers because, first of all, you're only dealing with me. So there's not going to be any processors calling or lenders calling. They all go through me. So everything that you need to know, the buck stops here. That's one part. And then also the rate sheet's totally different because I literally can offer better rates than anything that a corporate lender can offer because my overhead's so low. And they know that. But we are we are able to bring it into the the sales market, the secondary market, and everything like that. So by doing by using a mortgage broker, you actually have several different options with what kind of lender you need, and corporate would have just their rate sheets and they have their products. But like I can shop, for example, if you needed an FHA loan, I have 3 different lenders that offer FHA. So I can go to each lender. There's no set rate. I need to do it based off of their timelines and based off of what the criteria are. I have different criteria for each FHA loan. So what may not work with one lender could work with another. So you're not having to go and shop it out yourself. You're having your mortgage broker look at the different lenders that they have as options to see who can offer the best product and the availability of the product for whatever that person needs.
So it's almost like a personalized clearinghouse, so to speak.
Yeah, because of the fact that we can shop it, you're able to really select, um, for example, credit scores. Some lenders will go down to 620, some will go down to 580. If you hit the wrong, let's see, big lender, big box lender, they're just going to decline you, and you may give up that house option, or you may decide you need to go with a smaller home. Whereas if you go with a mortgage broker, they can shop it around and see if there's some options out there.
And how would that best tie in to somebody? You actually brought up a good point there with people with troubled credit. And of course, people have divorces, people relocate, and they have job changes. There seem to be several, almost countless scenarios of couples or even single people going in to buy a home, and all of the information at once can be a bit overwhelming. So it seems like going to someone like your business could help quite a bit with that, with people who are either first-time buyers and have never navigated the landscape, or are return buyers, and the whole game has changed a bit since maybe last time they bought a home.
Right. And they only have to turn in their records to one person. I think of a mortgage as more of a puzzle that you put the pieces together to figure out what kind of product they need. Um, for example, you may think you need an FHA loan, but once I look at it, it may be that the scenario is such that you just need this conventional lender that offers this product. Let's see if their rate's better than you going on the FHA product and needing to take mortgage insurance, which is significant cost. So, or their mortgage insurance will be less. I love just the first question when I meet somebody is, let's go through your scenario. And I love seeing the different ways that you can structure the mortgage to see how they can save the most money over the long term and over the short term. And how long are they going to own the house? That's really important. Because if you're only going to own a house for 5 years, you may not care about the payment as much. You may be like, well, I just don't want to have as much upfront money in there. So it allows me to really break down the mortgage financially, but also what the person needs. And sometimes they need something that may not be what I think is the best financial decision. And probably that's the hardest part, of saying, okay, this is what you're doing, but you could do it this way. But if you feel that this way is the best for you, then we need to go with what option you need in your personal life. So I think by talking to people and understanding their overall scenario, that gives them the best overall fitted mortgage to their particular needs.
So when someone comes to you wanting to get a mortgage or even a refinance, what should they come to you with as far as having their ducks in order, that you can have the most open and honest conversation with a couple or a single person that's planning to buy a property? What do they need to bring to you to begin this process of navigating through that whole scenario?
Well, as strangely as this sounds, the first thing they need to do is get on the no-call list for their credit report. Because as soon as they get that credit report pulled, the phone calls will be relentless. So do that if you're even thinking about getting a mortgage anytime soon. That usually takes a couple weeks. And then when they come to me, know what your income is. A lot of people don't actually know what they make. They know what the overall check is, but they don't know what the gross amount is. So if they have a pay stub in hand, that's going to be really helpful to break down the payment of what that full monthly payment is. Most people know what's in the bank. Sometimes they have it scattered about to different banks. Being able to pull those bank statements together, or at least have it on paper that you've looked at all your accounts and know how much is in each. And although you won't be using most scenarios, you don't use your retirement, it's always good to know what's in there because they can be used as reserves. And that helps you qualify better with the automated underwriting scenarios that pretty much everyone has to go through now.
As you look at your business and the industry, and you said that you have locations or you had a location in Georgia and in Florida, what 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 metros are you actually located in?
So I'm actually able to lend anywhere in the state of Georgia and anywhere in the state of Florida. I've gone down to Key West. I've gone up to North Georgia. So as a mortgage broker, it doesn't really matter where the property is. I can help. Most people know about me in DeKalb County, but that does not mean that's the only place I've been. So I've been lending in Savannah. I've lended on St. Augustine. So all over. I don't have to show up to the house. So we'll assign an appraiser to go to the property, and then everything is done through email and phone calls and everything like that. So anywhere.
Now, you've been at this a very long time, since the 90s, and doing it for yourself since the early 2000s. What is it about finance, and especially the mortgage business, that makes this a personal venture for you, that really makes it worth your time personally?
I think because we've been programmed that home ownership is the American dream, that by being able to help people buy into that dream, it's been achieving to me personally um, as someone who can actually help that financial dream come true. The the financial aspect for buying a home is probably the biggest hurdle, of course, um, and being able to break it down to payments. And when people come to me, sometimes they're just like, I don't even know if this is possible. I love being able to say, okay, it is possible, but it's possible in 6 months. And this is what I need you to do. And when they follow through on taking those steps, it's just incredible to see how excited they are at the closing, and they're realizing all of this is going to be change their future completely, because when they go to sell the house, they now have a nest egg to move on to the next house. And 99% of the cases, of course, we can't guarantee that, but it's always somewhere to have a roof over your head, which is essential.
Do you have a personal success story that particularly stands out of a client, be it a family or a single person, that to them everything just looked kind of bleak and complicated, but you saw it through and helped them along their way?
I think the one that comes out to me is a scenario where um, my client thought she had eligibility through VA to purchase a home, and come to find out that she didn't. She thought she did, but she didn't, and she didn't know how to go get the DD 214 and find out all this information, and she really wasn't willing to give up the house. And she took the time, and we had to do jump through some hoops to get her to closing, but she was willing to take the time and work through the scenarios and work with underwriting to explain different things to make it happen. I have a lot of clients that, they think one thing of their credit report, and then they find out there's something else on there. And that is just unbelievable to them, that the credit report got dinged and their credit score is not as high as they thought they were. And so I like to, on the front end, make sure that that's cleared, so they don't have the delay on closing. If you can get the loan in place prior to securing the property, that is going to be the best scenario for negotiations too, because you're ready to go. But I think the client who was a veteran, but wasn't veteran qualified, was probably the most challenging and warm story in the end of being able to buy that home and being able to have that house for her new baby.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice story. So you were talking about a moment ago getting the lending on the front end, which I've known several people to do regarding a sort of car loan, and that is very helpful to people when they go into a dealership. So it works in a similar way with mortgage, in that you know it is available to you going in on the front end.
Right. And you coming in with that letter of approval, and you could base the letter based on what you want to purchase. You don't have to base it off of what you qualify for. Sometimes that's higher. So you work directly with your mortgage broker to figure out what you want to tell everyone you qualify for, and then take that letter to your real estate agent and to your seller in the negotiation process.
And does that also tend to speed up the process in buying a home?
Oh boy, yes. So you can bring it down to about 2 weeks, because you still need that time to actually, have due diligence with the property and figure out what's wrong with it or what's right with it, and also have some time for the appraisal and title work. So you're still really preparing for the house itself to be qualified, but everything with your loan is ready. So it does definitely speed up the process.
If you could talk to everybody in the Southeast at once, or at least the two states that you're most involved with, what would you want people to know about you and your type of business?
So I am a believer in small business in America, and my business is a small business. So I have been around in the industry for now over 30 years. I have dealt with rental properties and purchasing homes and helped people get lending for various types of mortgages, including FHA and VA, and even reverse mortgages. If you're looking for someone who's qualified in the industry, you want to look for somebody who's not just getting the paperwork, but knowledgeable about what your needs are and listening to you. So that's my best skill, is listening and helping them figure out what they want instead of pushing any particular product.
How can folks go about learning more about you and your brokerage firm?
I do have a website. It's newthresholdmortgage.com. Just go ahead and click on it and send me a message through the website, or you can reach me by phone. The phone number is on the website as well, but I'm happy to give you a call back and talk through your particular scenario and help you achieve your dream of home ownership.
Thank you for joining the Mortgage Note podcast. I'm Scott Kimbler. We've been speaking with Elizabeth Washburn, the founder of New Threshold Mortgage.